lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your heart away.
Hi. It's August 23rd, 1994. It's a beautiful day in Clarksburg, Massachusetts. We're on North Eagle Street, looking at the house where Verlie and May grew up. I don't know if you can get a view. It looks really different now because a lot of changes over the years. So, if you want to tell us, were you born in this house?
I was born in that house.
She was
On
born?
January 3rd, 1916.
Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. January 3rd, 1916. Born right here.
And at that time, our house was white in color. And there was a barn, a red barn, big red barn attached to it.
So the house across the street was here.
The house across the street was there.
And was what's there?
No, there was no house there.
Wow.
It was just land. That was just land.
So your best friend, did Margaret live across the street?
Margaret lived across the street.
We heard about Margaret a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, she did.
And all the fun they had when they were kids.
We were just about the same age. She had a little brother, 2 years younger than she was. And on the other side of that house, you wouldn't believe, okay, there was no house there either. It was just land, and there was a big rock. I think it's still over there. Is there a rock there? And we played on that rock day after day.
Come down and look at the rock.
Over there.
That was Margaret's house.
Yeah.
Now we're probably 2 miles up from
No, we're about a mile and a half from Main Street.
From Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were school age,
Mm-hmm. When I was
how far was it to school?
about, no distance at all, probably. It took me less than 10 minutes to get to
Is
school.
the school still there?
The school is still there, but it's now a house. It was a 2-room school, 4 grades in each room. And there was no inside plumbing. There was an outhouse behind the school.
Well, we'll take a look when we go by. We'll write down where it was. We'll take a look around the other side of the house.
And in front of the house, on the side over here, there were all kinds of beautiful shrubs, flowers, lilac bushes. When the people bought this house from my mother, they tore everything out.
And the barn at the same time.
No, Mother had the barn torn down before she died.
So this was basically all woods just behind you. Now,
It used to be the only thing, even in our front lawn, we didn't have a lawnmower until I grew up and bought one. And because my father mowed the lawn for the grass for the cows.
now, how long did you live here?
I lived here till I was married. That was in 1938.
And how long did your parents live here?
They lived here all their married life. My father died in 1957, and my mother died in 1963.
And then the house was sold after she died.
Wait a minute, I'm telling you wrong. Sorry. Cut that out.
Back up.
Yeah. My father died in 1957, and Mother, it was such a very large place, and we had land at one time way down across even Houghton Street. And anyway, it was too much. She didn't want it anymore. I think she wanted to move. And in July of 1958, she sold this house and we moved to Adams.
Now, when you were small, I remember hearing stories about the swimming hole. and how you and your group of friends used to go to the swimming by yourselves. Now, where was that from here?
In the beginning, we would go down, and I'll take you there when we go to see the school.
Oh, okay. All right, you can get to it by, can you drive there now, or we have to hike?
So close by. Then she transferred
What?
to,
Oh, okay. This is the side view of the school, which is about a quarter of a mile away from the house. And I think we got on tape before. Two-room school.
4 rooms and 4 grades in each room. When I think of it now, when I got to high school, I didn't do badly.
Now that was what, first grade to
8th.
eighth grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love school.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you when we were back at your home, your original home. Now, do you remember, did your parents ever talk about, before you were born, whether they, different names they were going to name you, or whether you were going to be a boy or a girl? Or do you remember any stories they told about when you were really little?
Unfortunately, I don't. I remember not along that line. I remember my mother telling she did made her own diamond curtains with lace and did hem stitching on them. And I remember they were telling us when I was just learning to walk, I took scissors and I cut her brand new curtains.
Oh, I bet you weren't too well thought of those couple of days. It's probably that was a big expense and a big project at that time. Now, how old were you when Verlie was born?
I was 4 and a half. Girl was born on June 11, 1920.
Did you remember much about when she was a baby, or
very little further? Very little further.
Now, when you were little, you obviously helped with the chores and you had jobs to do around now, is that from the time ever since you can remember?
Almost
5 years old or whatever?
Since I can remember.
You would have little projects or chores that you had to do every day.
On the outside, and part of it, I love being outside rather than inside. And I would help, weed the garden or pick the vegetables. And as I grew older, I did all kinds of, raking the hay and all that.
So you were pretty big help, even though you were girls.
Even though my father always called me his boy.
His boy.
And of course, when girl came along, she didn't have to do that because I never saw her with a rake in her hand.
Oh. She was not
strong, and she was excused from doing it.
Now, was your father a farmer?
No.
He had a job.
My father was, both he and my mother were from North Adams. He was born in New York State, actually. He was born in Clarksburg, New York, and with his family migrated here. His father was a railroad man, and they eventually migrated to North Adams. But my mother was born in North Adams. No. They were far from being farmers. He moved to the country because of his health. The doctor told him to move out of this area entirely.
Oh, really?
Because of his lungs. Well, he did. So that's why they bought the place in Clarksburg. And he finished it.
So were his parents still alive? I mean, do you remember your grandparents?
I remember.
Did they live close by?
They lived in North Adams. Grandma, I remember her so well. Grandma Greene was a very remarkable person. She lived mostly with my aunt and Uncle Lawrence, but I saw her quite frequently. But Grandpa died. He was injured on the railroad, and he died. I remember him vaguely, maybe. I don't know, I might have been trying to die, maybe I was listening.
Now, did you get together a lot, or just holidays, or? I mean, did your family have transportation? Did they? They didn't drive. Didn't have cars.
Didn't really get together. Well, we lived in Clarksburg, especially Christmas and New Year's, and in those days, it seems to me we had tremendous amount of snow all winter long. We were almost isolated. Many. But there again, we had no transportation, and they didn't either.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't easy to even get in the wintertime to get from North Adams. But in the summer, Grandma would come up once in a while from Adams. And I guess I was fairly young when she passed away. But Grandpa Boyd, my mother's father, lived with us part of the time, and and he did work around the farm too. And part of the time he lived with my Aunt Kate, Margaret's mother, and with that family.
Now, when
and
you
they
said,
lived on River Street in North Adams.
okay, when you said your cousins used to come up sometimes to swim and things like that, was that Margaret?
No,
family?
Margaret never.
No?
Never. I hardly knew Margaret.
Was she
then.
older?
She was a little bit. She was a little bit older.
Yeah.
Of a different, almost a different generation, you might say. Margaret never participated in our fun. Let's put it that way.
So your other cousins
we used to have a lot of
that
fun.
lived
We
in
really
North Adams
did.
would come up.
The Felix.
The Felix.
Yeah.
Would come up.
Yeah, they came up. Usually Rose and Helen and Lil and Peg was. She was another Felix, but she and Verl were very good friends. They were about the same age. And but the four of us.
Now, how old were you during the Depression?
Okay, I graduated from grammar school in 1928 or 9. I graduated from high school in 33. So I was a young teenager.
Now, because your family was pretty self-sufficient, was your family as affected by the Depression as I assume a lot of people were?
I can say we were not. It did not seem to hurt us at all because of that fact, Barbara, that we were quite self-sufficient as far as food products were concerned. And then my father had gone back to work in the textile. He always worked in textile, in the Windsor Print Works, and then in the Arna Print Works. And he was never without work, never, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah, because I know a lot of families.
They were. I hear my friends talk about how things were for them, you know. And I was not.
Were you really aware of it at that age?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It was all around us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Barbara. It was.
Now,
it was very, very bad.
Did you have the newspapers and the radio? You know, for all your. Were you involved in the news other than, you know, like national news and things like that? I mean, nowadays everybody sits there and watches news for an hour or so every day. But
well, we got it from the newspapers and from hearsay, and we had a radio given to us by my aunt. They got a new one, so they gave us their old one, so that's how we had a radio news.
Now, was that entertainment in your house as well? Did you play games or cards?
Oh Lord, did we ever?
To keep yourself
in
those long winters with all that snow.
Long winter night, we played. My mother was a great card player, and we played all kinds of games, including cards and read. We were great readers. I will say that. Great readers. We had all kinds of books.
Now, where did you go to high school? Should we go to high school next?
All right.
All right. We're going to high school. I can hear it.
There were no houses up here at all.
Well, I can see it. Barely.
Oh, isn't that too bad? Yep. We used to come down through the pasture.
Oh, you really can't. It's really grown up right all the way right through. I mean, you can see it sort of trails down like that. But
it goes down into the Hoosick River in North Adams.
So your house is basically up here. Well, you can't see the brook, but you can hear the brook. And they used to come down through the pasture, and it would be right sort of in their backyard. A big backyard.
Yeah. And sometimes we would, it was a treat. We would take sandwiches and we would come down here and eat our lunch and we'd have our picnic. And
so there was enough of a pooling that you could swim
we dammed it up, you know.
Well, you were busy little children, weren't you?
Oh, we were.
Now, what ages do you think this was? Like 6, 7 to 10?
I would say so, maybe 7 to 11, and then we graduated and we went up to the other.
And you got to be real good swimmers. You could go up to the big pond.
Big pond, and had fun up there too. And day after day, after I got my work, as long as I did my work,
when you were allowed to go play.
I was allowed to. My mother was very, she was very fair, very fair.
Get your work done, and then you have fun.
I think she liked to have me have fun. Yeah. And.
But your parents never came. They were busy working.
Busy working. They didn't even know. I told them I knew how to swim.
And they said, okay, fine.
Yeah, sure. What's that? My dad did. He knew because, you know, most boys used to swim. And he learned to swim over, of course, he was from, most of his boyhood he was grown in North Adams after he moved from New York State. Over at Natural Bridge. The boys, I remember him telling us they would go over the Natural Bridge and swim over there. You know, and so he knew what swimming was, but
yeah.
My mother
now, do you remember the summers being hot? I mean, you said there was seemed a lot of snow in the winters.
I don't know. I don't think we paid much attention to the weather. We were just kids, and I know we went swimming a lot, so it must have been warm enough for swimming. I don't know that it was hot like it is now. I bet I don't remember. I just remember we had a pretty good time. And every night, of course, we had milk, and people would come to the house and probably get their milk. And every night, most of the kids, of course, from our neighborhood would gather in our front yard, and we'd spend the whole evening in our front yard.
Playing games.
We would play Run, Sheep, Run, Nipsey, and Lord, what else? When we played Run, Sheep, Run, we would hide anywhere in our whole property, you know. And we made our own fun then. I wouldn't think of spending an evening inside unless I was being punished, which I was once in a while. I had a very good childhood. Very fun childhood. Busy all the time. Well, kids are always busy all the time anyway.
Well.